She's stuck in a dead-end relationship until she starts receiving messages from a mysterious man claiming to be her fiancé from the future. He says he came from 15 years ago, promising to save his life from a serious accident. If you want to know the outcome of this drama, stay until the end of the video. But first, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like. Kim So-ra, a 27-year-old fashion designer, lives a routine without much excitement. Though talented and dedicated, she feels stagnant in her career and trapped in a relationship that doesn't bring her happiness. Her boyfriend, Choi Min-soo, is an ambitious coworker who seems more focused on his own career advancement than on sharing dreams with her. Although she initially believed he would be the ideal partner, the reality of Min-soo as a distant and self-centered person begins to weigh on her. One night, while working late in her office and finishing up a design sketch, So-ra receives a message from an unknown number. The message is cryptic. Don't discard the sketch for the next collection. Use the blue embroidery. It will be a success. Perplexed, she decides to ignore it, thinking it must be some sort of mistake. But on impulse, she decides to follow the advice and adjusts her sketch. The next day, she presents the idea to her boss, who approves the piece with praise. Intrigued, So-ra wonders who could have sent the message. In the following days, the messages continue, and the mysterious sender begins giving her specific advice that benefits her. He knows details about her that few people know, like the name of her childhood stuffed animal and even her favorite flavor of ice cream when she's feeling down. Curious and a little suspicious, So-ra decides to ask who he is. The response is unexpected. I'm Young-woo Jin, your fiancé from the future. I'm here to help you make decisions that will change your life. At first, So-ra thinks it's a prank. The idea that someone from the future is communicating with her seems absurd. But as the messages keep coming and his predictions come true, she starts to doubt her disbelief. In one of the messages, Woo-jin predicts that Min-soo will be promoted soon, and instead of celebrating with her, he'll use the opportunity to belittle her, saying she should work harder. And days later, this exact scenario plays out. Min-soo's promotion arrives, and rather than celebrating with So-ra, he acts insensitively, making it clear that he views success as something exclusively his own. This episode causes So-ra to start trusting Woo-jin. He isn't just someone who sends strange predictions, he genuinely seems to care about her, offering guidance that encourages her to explore her potential. In one of his messages, he urges her to work on a personal collection, highlighting her skills and unique ideas. At first, So-ra hesitates, but following Woo-jin's advice, she decides to share one of her boldest ideas with her superiors. To her surprise, they love it, and she begins to gain recognition. As the days go by, So-ra realizes that the messages are helping her grow in ways she never imagined. She starts to feel more confident, more in control of her decisions, and gradually, she frees herself from the emotional dependency she had on Min-soo. Although doubts and insecurities remain, So-ra feels herself transforming, all because of the mysterious Woo-jin, who, even without ever meeting in person, begins to occupy a special place in her life. Woo-jin's presence becomes a comfort to her, something unexpected that leads her to question everything she thought she knew about her own happiness and purpose. Even though the messages are just words on a screen, So-ra feels an inexplicable connection with the man who claims to be her fiancé from the future. At the end of this first stage, So-ra still feels torn between the security of her relationship with Min-soo and the desire to keep following Woo-jin's guidance, which is leading her down a path of self-discovery and independence. As So-ra begins to trust Woo-jin and follow his advice, she notices profound changes in her life. His tips help her avoid problematic situations, improve her performance at work, and even discover a hidden talent she never knew she had. The messages encourage her to experiment with bold new ideas, drawing the attention of her company's directors, who begin to place more trust in her. This recognition renews her self-esteem, and So-ra feels more motivated to invest in her career. However, as she grows professionally, her relationship with Min-soo starts to deteriorate even further. Woo-jin continues to send messages, warning her about Min-soo's behavior and encouraging her to open her eyes to his true intentions. So-ra is reluctant to accept that Min-soo may be more self-serving than he appears, but his actions make this increasingly evident. In one message, Woojin encourages her to confront Min-soo about his constant criticisms of her work and his lack of support for her achievements. Feeling inspired, So-ra finally confronts Min-soo. However, he reacts coldly, arguing that she's overreacting and saying he doesn't have time for drama. The distance between them only grows, and So-ra begins to see how much she's deceived herself about what she truly deserves in a relationship. Woojin's messages become a constant, almost essential presence. He helps her with practical advice and gently makes her reflect on her own worth. In one conversation, he tells her that she has a natural talent for creating unique pieces and that, in the future, she will be a recognized designer. So-ra feels a mix of disbelief and excitement, but gradually she starts to believe he might be right. Fueled by this newfound confidence, she takes a risk and proposes her own collection, something no one else on her team had dared to do before. The company approves her proposal, and So-ra dives into the project, working with a passion she has never felt before. Over time, the bond between So-ra and Woojin deepens. Even though she's never met him in person, she feels more connected to him than she ever has to Min-soo. Woojin knows her in ways no one else does, and So-ra finds herself wondering what it would be like to truly be with him. She wonders if the love he claims they share in the future could happen now, but this dilemma consumes her. She knows that, as much as Woojin supports her, he's just a distant and enigmatic presence, something that might never materialize. However, the comfort and security he offers are real, and So-ra feels torn between her growing attraction to him and the reality of her current relationship. One night, after a long day at work, So-ra receives a message from Woojin that is unlike any other. He finally reveals the real reason he came to the past. He returned to prevent an accident that, he says, will leave her in a coma for many years. Woojin explains that if she doesn't follow his guidance, this accident will happen soon, altering her life irreversibly. He also reveals that, in the future, they are married and deeply in love, and that he loves her deeply, which is why he made the decision to come back and protect her. This revelation shakes So-ra to her core. She tries to process the idea that the man she has been communicating with and trusting came from a future in which they are married. What seemed like simple professional guidance transforms into something far more significant. So-ra is stunned and unsure how to react. She feels a whirlwind of emotions: fear, confusion, and a strange sense of security at the thought that, in the future, there is someone who loves her enough to do anything to protect her. In the days that follow, So-ra lives in a state of constant tension. With every decision she makes, she feels torn between the reality of her present and the promise of the future Woojin has shared with her. In a moment of deep reflection, So-ra wonders if she should truly trust the promises of an uncertain future or continue living her life without worrying about the consequences of a potential tragedy. The more she thinks about it, the more she feels trapped between two worlds: the real world, full of uncertainties and limitations, and the world promised by Woojin, where a powerful, true love awaits her. After Woojin's revelation about the accident and the future they share, So-ra becomes consumed with the idea of avoiding the tragic fate he described. She tries to be cautious in every step she takes, all while grappling with the overwhelming feelings she's begun to develop for him, even though he only exists as messages on a screen. Woojin becomes her source of strength and the figure that gives her the courage to face her challenges. However, as time goes on, Woojin's messages grow less frequent, and So-ra finds herself having to make decisions without him. Determined to avoid the accident, So-ra starts reevaluating her routine, her habits, and especially her relationship with Min-soo. By this point, the tension between them is undeniable. After many arguments and misunderstandings, So-ra finally ends the relationship, feeling a mixture of freedom and emptiness. Min-soo tries to convince her to change her mind, claiming she's acting impulsively, but So-ra realizes her life is better without him, and that she deserves someone who values and supports her. As she adjusts to these changes, So-ra becomes increasingly aware that she needs to rely more on herself and the skills she's developed. Woojin becomes a quiet presence, and his messages appear less and less frequently. He tells her that she's already on the right path and that, perhaps, she now needs to start walking it alone. This implied farewell leaves Sora feeling a profound emptiness, but she understands that now is the time to prove that she can move forward on her own. One night, not long after her breakup with Minsu, Sora is walking alone through the streets of Seoul, lost in thought about her life and the promises Woojin made. Suddenly, a car speeding down an empty street appears, and Sora realizes she's in a dangerous situation. Remembering Woojin's warnings about the accident, she reacts quickly and manages to avoid the car at the last moment. The experience makes her heart race, and in that instant, she realizes this was the situation Woojin had wanted her to avoid. Scared, but now more confident in her own ability to make choices, Sora decides that her life should be guided by her own decisions, not by fear of fate. After narrowly avoiding the accident, Woojin's messages cease completely. Sora feels a mixture of sadness and gratitude. Though saying goodbye has been difficult, she understands that Woojin helped her rediscover her worth and find the courage to change her path. Inspired by his parting words, she dedicates herself fully to her career, creating a successful collection that launches her as a respected and recognized designer in the industry. Sora transforms her experience with Woojin into an invisible strength that drives her forward. She carries the memory of his messages as a reminder that true love can appear when least expected, and that, to find it, one must first learn to love and value oneself. By building a life based on trust and authenticity, Sora feels she's finally ready for whatever the future holds, relying on no one but herself. Years later, at an international fashion exhibition, Sora proudly presents her latest collection. As she walks through the corridors, she senses a familiar presence. And looking around, she sees a man who looks remarkably like Woojin. Their eyes meet for a brief moment, and he smiles as if he recognizes her. Sora's heart skips a beat, but instead of approaching him, she simply smiles back, confident. She understands that if this really is Woojin, fate will bring them together, and if it's not, she knows she's at peace with her journey and the choices she has made. Sora moves forward with the conviction that life is full of second chances, and that true love, even from afar, will be waiting for her when the time is right. As she looks toward the horizon, she feels she's finally ready for everything life still has in store. Did you like this story? So leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next dramas full of romance and twists. And don't leave yet. Watch our latest video. After being cheated on by her boyfriend while expecting a child, she catches the attention of the CEO. It's unmissable. Until next time.